So the Roland SH-4d Update 2.0 is here. And in this video, we're going to go over the two new oscillator models, Harmonic and Step. So I have my SH-4d here on my desk, and I've loaded it up with some, just a blank, blank project here. And we have typically they got this the SH4, I believe. Yeah, SH4d model. And so we scroll past, the usual models, Sync SH101. All these things are great, and I've loved it. I really love the sounds I've gotten off my SH4d for the past, couple of years here. And we get right past the drawing and the PCM. And right after the PCM comes the Step model. So what the Step model does is it gives us two oscillators and a stepped LFO. So the stepped LFO can either be free or synced, just like a normal LFO. And when it's synced, each, the subdivisions that we're syncing it to are the steps. Each of the subdivisions of the steps could be, each step could represent like a 16th note or a quarter note or an eighth note. And we can have up to 16 steps or fewer. So it's pretty cool. So just to give you a rundown on like how this works, we have this little cursor right here, and then we can move that cursor along, and this will move us from step to step, like that. And we can increase or decrease the value of the step by this knob here, or we could also go with the arrows. So there's little arrow buttons down here, or we can just use that first fader, which is probably faster. So I'll go for some extremes here. This is kind of what they did in their video. Go step and then bring this down here. Let's just see what that does when we play a note. And right now it does nothing, right? Because we haven't really assigned this to anything. Now with this fader here, I believe, we can assign it to the filter. And that happens really fast. I'm going to go into the menu by saying enter. Now we get the LFO length. So let's just use 3 steps only. So we're going to bring this down to 3 steps. And then I am going to exit. Actually, I believe the timbre here, no, that goes to the waveform, and the pitch is a chorus tune, as it always is. It's this right here, this fourth slider that gives us the rate. So I'm going to set it to eighth notes, or quarter notes. Let's try quarter notes. Here it's fading away, because these two oscillators, the two waveforms here, actually go through the usual kind of synthesis we have here. So we can open up the sustain on the amp and on the filter, because I think they're both down on, yep. You can bring up the resonance. So right now, it's just affecting the filter. So I can bring this down and have it not affect the filter. And I can assign it using this button here to, I believe, the pitch. And now, this extreme value here to the median value is 1 octave, and this median value to the lowest value is also another octave. Now if I tap this button again, we'll get 2 octaves. If I tap it again, wow, this is going to be crazy. We get 3 octaves. It's pretty extreme. It's probably best if you're trying to do something like trickier with the intermediary steps. And so Roland lays this out. I think it goes like every 6 values, because you have 72 values going up. Yeah. So the extreme range here is 72, and extreme down here is negative 72, and then we have 0. And so in 1 octave, 72 is 6 times 12. So in the 1 octave, so this is off. So if it's white, it's off. If it's, I guess this is kind of yellow looking to me, yellow greenish, that's going to be 1 octave for the full, like for 72 steps, or 72 increments on the step. Orange is going to be 2 octaves, and red is 3 octaves. And again, white is off. So let's bring it down to the 1. And this means we can actually get some pitches in between your regular 12, subdivisions of an octave in what we're used to in tuning, like on piano keys and stuff like that. So let's have some fun with that. We're gonna go back here and we're gonna just do a real subtle pitch thing and just bring it like, probably be easier if I use this. 1 step up, and then I'm going to go over to my 3rd step here. I'm gonna bring it up here, and then I'm just gonna bring it up to -1. And let's hear what that sounds like. Very subtle. Now we'll go to the 2 octave version. And then we'll go to the 3 octave version. So yeah, the first one was a half step every 6 increments. So let's go back to the 1, and we'll go up 6 here. In fact, let's go up 12. And since I went up on that one, we'll go down on this one, and we'll go down 12. And we should just hear like whole steps here, like I should hear B flat C D. Cool. Now we can go B flat C and then just a slightly out of tune D. Yeah, it's just slightly off. So there's a lot of fun that you can have with this. What if we want, oh my gosh, now I have to do a whole bunch of math here. Well, I don't even know, 54, right? So 9 times, so let's go up to about 54. In fact, no, let's go to 7 times 6. Let's go to 42. So this is going to be 7 half steps, which is a perfect 5th. There we go. And then we're going to go over here to the first one, and we're going to go down 5 times, 6. 5 times 6, so we're going to go down 30. And then we should get like 5th root 5th. So that gives us a little more range here, so I can show you the next thing, which is we can set a curve on these. Now this first curve, so curve 0 just goes, does kind of like a ramp up. This is the usual just like lock step. This is kind of an early anticipation to the next step. And then this is kind of like starting at the median and then going down and then back up to the next step. So you actually get these little rhythms inside here. So you get like sub-step rhythms. That is so subtle. I can barely see it off the side. In fact, this curve would probably be better on another step. Here's one where we ramp down. Now we get 2 ramps. Sounding like some kind of a weird satire of Star Wars. So you get the idea of what curves can do. And I can take this down back to curve 0 and up to 1. So we're back to our... Oh, it sounds like it's slightly out of tune. Let's see what this first one is. There we go. Yep, we had moved it just a little bit. And then I can bring the filter effect back in too. And then for fun, let's send it through some delay. So now we can also change the waveforms here. So we have a saw. We can make this what? We have everything from saw to square to triangle, sine, ramp wave, the Juno, which is kind of like, I guess, a... You also have, and this is for oscillator 1, this, what is this? Juno, triangle 2, triangle 3, sine wave 2, Supersaw. So, and so this is for oscillator 1. Now if I go into the menu here, I can go down to oscillator 1, and for that Supersaw, you can actually affect the detune. And let's see. Alpha filter depth, and this is oscillator 2 level. So I'll bring. Now we can hear more of what we're doing with that Supersaw. So that's with no detuning, some detuning, mix back in. And this, by the way, should control the octave. So this is the level of the second oscillator, and this should be the octave. So this is their matched pitch. Now we can take this down 1 octave. Then we take it down 2 octaves. So there's some crazy fun you can have with these things. So let's exit. Actually, no, let's go in here. We're going to go back up, and this time we're going to lengthen our steps to full length. And then we're going to take our note rate and make it 16ths. And then we're going to exit here, get back to our ramp wave here. And then we're just going to draw in some random values. Now, as I hold down the note, obviously, we're not getting a restatement of the note, so we're going to lose the note. It's going to fade away because that's the amplitude envelope being applied to it, without the sustain being all the way up. So let's see if there's something else we haven't covered here. We covered the LFO length, and you can send it to amplifier. You can send it to pan. So we bring that up. So you're kind of spreading all around there. Let's pull out the delay. You can hear it really playing around in the stereo field between your ears. Bring that back down. And we have, of course, a LFO fade in, so. Oops, back to 0. Oh, there's also pulse width and pulse. So you can mess with the pulse. And then you got pulse width modulation. Actually, I'm not too sure which LFO it takes it from. Whether it takes it from this LFO here, or from the LFO that we're using here, on the step LFO. Seems like it might be a step LFO. So let's do this. Let's take the pitch out. Right, so we don't have the filter going on here. So yeah, it's using the step LFO to adjust the pulse width. So it's really cool that they give us, you know, given that the primary focus of the main screen here is the LFO, not an oscillator. So this, if we think about it, we have three oscillators, right? We have the first oscillator 1, which is an audio rate oscillator, and then oscillator 2, which is also an audio rate oscillator. And then we have the low frequency oscillator, and that's its focus here, is the low frequency oscillator. A little bit like the SH-3 model, where you have 3 oscillators plus one that serves as an LFO. In this case, we have 2 oscillators and the step LFO. Apparently it's not much of it. Again, I think you pull a little bit of... I think on the tone too, we have a chorus that's on here. See? So you still get, again, you still get like the usual things you get on an SH-4d synth patch here. Okay, so we're going to exit this and take a look at the next oscillator model. So I'll tell you what, we'll go to part here, part 2, and this time I'm going to scroll all, whoops, wrong one, model, of course. Scroll all the way to the end, and now we come to the harmonic oscillator. And you can see they have these organ drawbars here, and they correspond with these faders right here. And just the default patch here has this beautiful bell tone. I mean, just like that, that's enough for me. I love that kind of a sound. But we can, it becomes like an additive synthesizer here, or like an organ, which essentially is like what, you know, like the original organs were medieval additive synthesizers of sorts. Not that they were using sine waves, but they were using, you just adding ranks and ranks and ranks, is how the organs would kind of blend their tones. And then of course you had the drawbars or whatever, and then of course we had the electric organs that would kind of be more portable, and they had their tone wheels and that sort of thing. And now we're just adding octaves. So we start with, you know, the low pipe, the 8-foot pipe. And then we have, I think this is would be a 4-foot pipe, maybe. Actually, no, because it says 2 feet up the end. So probably a 4-foot, a 6-foot, and a 2-foot, which means, yep, that's the 5th. You can hear that. It's like an octave plus a 5th. If we blend them like this is a little more how they appear in natural harmonics. And so you don't even have to reach for the filter. I mean, all you can do with the filter. And of course, there's nothing there. So you can actually just go with the upper harmonics, too. Maybe something like that. Try that. So in this case, there's no need for a like a low pass or high pass filter. And of course, we have the high pass filter here. We could always engage that, but you don't need this. You're going to do it by synthesis. Okay. So you can see what we can do with these oscillators. And I think the harmonic one is pretty simple. It's just kind of got that like organ tone, but it's still. And I was a little bit disappointed at it at first when I saw that, oh, like you got all these features, that, you know, the endless scrolling in the menu with options for the step oscillator model, and the harmonic, it just has that one, you know, just that, moderate. But it's such a beautiful sound, I don't mind. It's gorgeous. So what I did, and you can go check out my video that I uploaded, I did an ambient piece that used both models. Had 2 tracks of the harmonic model and 2 tracks of the step model. And I can probably pull this up here if we go to pattern. And we go all the way down. Whoops, we just hit that. 412. Here we go. And now you can see this is what I used for that ambient track that I did. So I'm just going to cut out these parts here and we're going to feature them. Oops. So right here on channel 4, or part 4, I have my drone. And I'm not using the percussion, so we might as well take that out. I'm not using rhythm. And so we look at the drone. It is the step model. And what I do in the performance is I just kind of gradually fade it in. Oops. Bring that down for a moment. Choose the right one. And sound, there we go. Exit, pattern, sound. There we are. Now we're in the right spot. So remember, we have this little step LFO that's being applied to the filter here. I didn't apply any of it to the oscillators. You can see that here. There's no pitch, so it's just going to the filter. And as I bring it up, we're starting to get the peaks of the step LFO being applied to the filter. And just so you know, I have it going through a shimmer verb, and you can see some of my other videos on how I like to configure my shimmer verb. And you hear it just like barely peeking through. And as we raise the cutoff in the filter, it starts to come in more fully. And so the step oscillator model and the step LFO adds an interesting rhythmic element that's subtle without actually having to be punching notes, which for me in ambient music is that subtle interest that keeps it interesting and yet not too intrusive. So go back here, kill this, and I'll bring in my pad, which is also a step filter model. That's just the echo of the last vestiges of the shimmer for the drone. Okay, so here comes the pad. And it's a similar sort of thing. Whoops. Let's make sure that I got... There we go. And these are just 2/5. It's like C, G, D. The other one was droning on the C. And so I can bring it up and blend it in to taste. So get rid of that and let it kind of fade away. You should hear the shimmer come in again. Oh, we're good? Okay. So the next thing is 2. Now in this case I was using the harmonic oscillator model and using kind of like a bell tone. And I use mostly like kind of G pentatonic stuff, just G, A, B, C, D, or G, A, B, D, E, G, A, B, D, E. And then I randomize the sequence. And this is a trick I've used before, where I have a sequence. Let me show you this. So you can see we brought in all the harmonics here, kind of in like a harmonic order. And again, I can play with the filter to bring it up and make it a little more interesting. A little brighter. So it punches through. But if I want to stay out of the way, like my last part, I can just bring it down a little bit like that, and the cutoff stays out of the way. And then, let's see if I go into the pattern. So it's 32 steps. So I have one page filled with notes and another page that's blank. So let's see if it's been a while since I've done the page thing. Let's try this page. See, there you go. The second page is blank. And the first page has got all this information. And then I randomize it. So if we were to bring this down to 16 and then go down here, let's play forward. Although there is about a 67% probability on every single note, which means it's got a 2/3 chance of occurring. So you're still not going to hear a lot there. Put it back to random, and then go back up and open it up to 32 steps. That gives you a lot of silence in between, a little more sparse. Mute that track. And now we'll come to the first track, which I play live. I just kind of, there's nothing sequenced here. I just like to play it live in the jam. So in this one, I have a small attack. Right now I got a long release that happened towards the end of my jam. And I got a little bit of the LFO going to the pitch. Gives it almost a vocal quality. And then if I pull out of this, go back to pattern. Here's the echo. And let's go over here. Cross down, bring that up. And then we'll come back here to the first part. And I can just jam on it like that. And then I can bring up the range a little bit and even go back to like another part, like over here on part 2. And playing the upper range, and it gives me like a second idea over the already sequenced parts. And the same thing for my pad. I can just, go over to part 3, and then, and you can hear that animation that the LFO gives it, that rhythmic animation. And so that's basically how I use the 2 new oscillator models in my latest jam. And so I hope you found this informative. Tell me what your experience has been with it and what your use cases are for the new SH-4d models. What I didn't cover in this video, of course, were some of the other things that Roland talked about, which includes the naming keyboard, which I found a little bit odd. If you haven't seen it yet, let's go back to, say, we'll go to another pattern, and we'll go all the way back up to whatever I was just working on. 6. Sure. And we'll exit, and then we'll say, let's save the now. Now, what I do love about this is we have the quick overwrite. And so that allows us to just quickly write everything down. I'm not going to do that because it'll create a whole bunch of new user tones that I don't want to do. But let's say I want to save this tone here. I've done something on it that I like. I want to save it. I say enter. And I'm like, sure, init tone, sure, enter. And here comes this keyboard. This is supposed to represent a QWERTY keyboard. So it's Q, W, E, R, T, Y. And I have some touch typing skills. It doesn't translate for me. These blinking lights here, I believe, are supposed to represent the raised surfaces like you might have on the F here and on the J here. So this should be F, and then this one over here should be J. There, and so that helps you kind of like locate where the other ones are. Still, this angular kind of thing just doesn't translate for me. Although I've been warming up to it, it's a little bit easier, quicker once I keep track of what's there. So like I like to put my initials at the end, and this is, by the way, this octave up is capitalized, this minus is lowercase, so if I need to put in a lowercase j there we go, there's a lowercase j, or better yet, lowercase f. That's a little bit easier to see. Okay, but I'm gonna exit out of here because I don't want to save this. So that's one of the new features. I'm trying to think what one of the other ones are. Of course, there's pattern chaining, which I don't do because it wasn't there to begin with, so it's not part of my practice. I either use this in one pattern, and I just kind of make that pattern as interesting as possible, or I pair this up with, say, the circuit tracks, or Ableton or something like that, and just kind of use it as a sound module, sound source. A lot of stuff with MIDI program change. There's up to 10 levels of undo redo, which is pretty cool. I think that's a good feature. And I don't know if any of you know what the polarity on or off, if that's referring to like the polarity of LFO, like say applied to a filter, or the polarity even of the envelope, maybe. They weren't very specific about that, at least not in the write-up. I haven't tested out the USB driver being generic, and I believe that means generic for audio and MIDI, and especially audio, I think. Again, those are the features that I don't use too often, so I haven't really tested out. But the oscillator features, the new oscillator models really grabbed me. I thought it was great. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it interesting, like and subscribe. If you want to share what you're going to be doing with the SH-4d and the new oscillator models, let us know down in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video.